I flew to Guatemala to hike an active volcano, but it did not go how I expected. Got picked up from my hostel in Antigua and rented some backpacking gear since this is an overnight hike. And then after an hour drive, the shuttle dropped us off at the trailhead. Getting ready to hike, and my new friend Ethan already cut his knee open on some barbed wire before we even started hiking, so that should have been the first sign on how this hike would go. But we started anyways, excited and full of hope. The first part of this hike is pretty steep and loose dirt, so it's a little challenging, but not too bad. There's lots of spots to stop and rest on the way up, so we take some breaks for snacks and lunch, which makes it pretty slow going at times. They say this is a difficult hike, and there were definitely people struggling, but if you're outdoorsy and actually hike, you'll be fine, no problem. But if not, don't let that stop you from going. Just maybe exercise a bit before coming. After hiking about 5 hours, little over 4 miles, and 3,700 feet of elevation gain, we make it to our base camp for the night, which are these cool huts on the side of the volcano. But no time to rest now, because it was time to hike to Volcán de Fuego to see the actual erupting volcano up close. The whole hike up to this point had great weather, but once we got up to camp, things started to get a little cloudy. It was fine though, so we started the hike up to see the volcano. That's when disaster struck. Out of nowhere, the skies opened up and the rain started downpouring when we were completely exposed, summiting the volcano. Literally one of the worst storms I've been in. I'm talking thunder, lightning, hail, everything. You can even see a river of water just rushing down the side of the volcano. It got so bad that the guides made us turn around before we even got to the summit and said it was one of the worst storms they've been in here. We all felt pretty defeated not being able to see the one thing that we hiked all that way for, but on the way back to camp, the clouds parted at least enough for us to see an eruption, and I got this shot. Better than nothing. But it wasn't all good news yet. When we got back to camp, we realized that the door on our tent didn't close all the way, so now everything inside the front of the tent was completely soaked. We were all just over it at that point and tired, so we didn't even go to cook dinner. I just ate my cold spaghetti inside my wet sleeping bag and called it a night. In the morning, you're supposed to wake up at 4 a.m. and hike an hour to the summit of Acatenango for sunrise, but we were all still super wet and it was cloudy and we couldn't see anything anyway, so we just stayed in the tent and got some extra sleep. After waking up and getting some breakfast and hot chocolate, we began our descent through the fog back down the mountain, but there were parts of the trail that fully washed away from the storm, so we had to be careful. Eventually the weather got better and we made it back to the van and back to Antigua. So just a reminder that things don't always go as we plan, especially when you're hiking volcanoes, and things don't always turn out how they're shown on social media. And that's okay. That's life, and now I have a better story. I just have to go back and do the hike again to actually see the volcano for real, so let me know if you want to come with me next time.